Brilliance Audio presents The Councillor by E.J. Beaton, performed by Maura Quirk. The shape of a crown stood out in the emerald wax of the seal, and Lysande glanced at it once before looking away, staring at anything but that envelope. She raised her vial and drank. Gold tinged the room, spreading from the corners, glossing the piles of manuscripts and slipping across the bedsheets. She felt it transmute her insides, moving from her chest to her abdomen. The clink of glass dripped lustre, and through it all, she struggled against a surging wish to let the effect spread and spread. "Signor Prior!" Calm settled upon her. The vial felt newly cool, as if it truly had been purified, as if it had never contained a spoonful of chimera scale, nor any ingredients that might mix and, if swiftly consumed, permeate the bloodstream. She did not need to think about the composition of the drug. She certainly did not need to think about the envelope. "If you please, Signor Prior, the Queen would see you." The ball of emotion in her chest had begun to soften. How easy it would be to let it dissolve under the same force that had gilded her vision. The old chant repeated in her mind: restrain, constrain, subdue. When the messenger shouted through the door again, she pushed against her ease and forced her fingers to trade the vial for an empty basin. Slowly she withdrew a small piece of hardened resin from her desk drawer and watched the surface of the stone glitter in the candlelight. After staring at it for a long time, she drew a swift breath and placed the night quartz on her tongue. The reaction worked through her, and she bent over and retched. Her hands gripped the edges of the basin until everything was expurgated. In the middle of the blue liquid, her own eyes shone, and she glimpsed something that was almost desperation. Words drifted through the door. As Lysande threw on a pair of trousers, she anchored herself to the messenger's phrase: "The Queen would see you." Gathering her keys, she put on her best doublet, a thick garment in the royal green with only a smattering of ink spots. She took the envelope with the emerald seal from her desk and paused, staring at it for a long time, turning it over in her fingers before slipping it into her pocket. The physicians were leaving the royal suite as she arrived, carrying baskets of tools. Only Sarek lingered in the corridor, wiping her hands on her robe. She nodded to Lysande, who nodded back slowly. Lysande turned away from the chief physician and approached the suite. Her stomach swirled, but she kept her back straight and her hands from trembling. Through the antechamber, trying not to look at the points of the swords in the brackets, she kept up a stiff gait. In the bedchamber, she threw up a hand to shield her eyes. Sunlight embossed the shelves on the wall. She watched an aureole form around a silver chalice, illuminating the words, "Sarelin Brey, unifier, warrior, conqueror, the hand that held back the white tide and saved Elira." Lysande shook her head, and after a moment ran her finger over the edge of the envelope in her pocket. "Sarelin?" Her voice resounded in the chamber. She walked to the bed. The robe on the sheets drew her gaze, mottled with blood. "Sarelin, are you awake?" "I hope so," a woman's voice said. "If this is the next life, it's lacking a bottle of red." She felt the weight of Sarelin's presence, even before a figure emerged from behind the dressing screen. Lysande was certain that the Queen had not only chosen this position to show off the daggers at her left hip, nor the sword at her right, for at this angle, sunbeams struck the dent in her armour, turning it into a gleaming scar. "Thank Cognita," Lysande said. "You can thank those damned physicians." Sarelin strode over and clapped her on the shoulder until her teeth knocked. "If they don't stop hectoring me, I'll tip the ghastly potion down their throats."